again.
He says, I believe that the Democratic Party's hostility to Israel represents a deeper and more dangerous shift away from the center and toward a radical approach that is bad for America and the free world. So I intend to work hard to prevent the Democrats from gaining control of the House and Senate. And I urge those who share my concerns about the increasing influence of radicalism in the Democratic Party to vote, campaign, and contribute for continued Republican control of Congress.
All right. So
long enough. Is he the last man standing, or is there still Bill Maher and a couple of other people?
Well, I guess he had to convert to counteract Tucker Carlson's latest bit with old Buckley on his show. And even Dershowitz in an interview with Mark Levin was talking about, he goes, so yeah, Tucker Carlson's now my problem.
Well, let's just talk about Dershowitz for a second before we get into ancillary problems. This guy was canceled, sued, physically abused, had his livelihood cut off. His relatives were forced to leave him. There was nothing left for him, and he still remained a Democrat out of spite to try to move this party to the middle until he finally had nothing left to offer and has now switched over and said he will be voting for the president, the Republican Senate, and the Republican Congress. And not only that, he will work for them, not just pulling the lever. He has channels. He has people he could speak to at functions. He has the ability to cut through this legal blockade of people being disbarred by leftist bar associations in blue cities. He has given his entire life to these particular causes that he's in favor of. And now he's taken on the biggest hurdle at the end of his life. The guy's in his 80s, Eric. You know, to now switch over and say, I'm going to work for Trump, I'm going to work for the Senate, I'm going to work for the Republican Congress. Like, this guy needs any more aggravation. And of course, there are people immediately saying, yeah, he's on the run from Epstein. Why not? The scurrilousness, the scumbaggery of some people on the MAGA right is breathtaking in its incredible destruction of our own conservative cause to get Republicans reelected. They will do anything on the fucking planet Earth to undermine a touchdown in the end zone. It's shocking.
You mean like redistricting the state that I have to vote about today?
Well, that's a Democratic CIA governor, Eric. That's another story. However,
going with that,
Dershowitz can be an extreme help to winning the midterms because he said he's going to go out on the stump and campaign as a guy who has switched parties. The amount of verbiage he can offer and theories and anecdotes and analogies is breathtaking for someone at his level of public speaking. But he's not good enough for people like Tucker. Because he supports the state of Israel, as Donald Trump said yesterday was our greatest ally, is a bridge too far for these scumbags.
I agree. By the way, somebody in the chat pointed out he lost everything, including his only son.
Yeah.
So, right now, what is there but the fight? Sadly.
No, but to impugn his patriotism, that's what's left. The last refuge of a scoundrel is to impugn the patriotism of a guy who is a freedom fighter within the democratic structure that we have here in this country. It really is breathtaking.
Yep. Well, I guarantee we will be hearing about whatever in the comment section. Just to let everybody know, I released a cut of our interview we did last Tuesday with James Lindsay, and a lot of the folks on the
what's wrong with
love that interview. They love it.
Right, but there are also people who said I'm leaving the channel because of that interview.
Yes, and
what happened in that? Did I miss something? What I thought it was a coup to get this guy.
He's a great guy. Yeah. Well, honestly,
I didn't understand what was so controversial about what he said to this particular channel.
He's pro-Israel.
Oh,
number one.
Okay, well, we haven't been hiding that.
No. I mean, and he does say woke right, and
as opposed to what?
A lot of people it seem to be very sensitive to hearing those words.
Why? I don't get it. How much more evidence do you need? Tucker said yesterday he's apologizing to the American people for convincing them to vote for Donald Trump, and he's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life. Yes, of course, I voted for Trump, so I'm going to support Tucker now. That makes complete sense, you nitwits. I don't get it. How far do these people on the MAGA Reich have to go before you say enough is enough? What is your breaking point? I'd like to know, what is your Rubicon?
I agree. And that's, I knew that there would be a negative response by some people on the channel to the interview because he's controversial. But we're not here to just say, oh, what is that gonna upset somebody? Because if we do that, then why are we here? Well,
Eric, but what's controversial is bringing on somebody like Michael Tracy, who's a socialist or a Marxist. That's controversial. Right. No, what I'm saying, I don't understand how James Lindsay would warrant any reaction other than, I can't believe you got this guy on a small channel. And I'm going like, yeah, that's how I feel. Yeah.
And he'll come back too.
Yeah, I hope he does. The guy was fucking brilliant.
Absolutely. I interviewed him on my channel, by the way, Eric Hunley. So if you want to get angry and check it out,
just
it's over there.
I mean, just some things I just get caught so off guard where I just go, what is this now? I didn't see this one coming.
I kind of did, but it is what it is. I mean,
what is it? What is it you're saying, to be specific?
There are some people who want us to line up a certain way. And
which is that way? I have to drill down to find out.
I think it might be the Tucker way. I think it might be.
But we're so far gone. I mean,
I know we are. So my point is,
is the rest.
Let's just demonstrate it. Let's just say here it is. Here we are.
But everybody in the conservative right, 95% of them are with us. I mean, we're not so on the fringe here, Eric. Everybody has thrown this guy under the bus. Everyone has thrown Candace Owens but not me, Mark, because I've been with Tucker since the beginning. And if Tucker says Trump is a loser, I'm with Tucker. I mean, if that's your thing, go for it. But just get off the fucking channel, man. Go live in your bat cave somewhere with Tucker and his brother Buckley. And I guess somebody must have seen the broadcast because they've removed his son from J.D. Vance's office as deputy press secretary immediately after the show last week.
Yes, they did. And by the way, those who were saying that on my other channel in my name, I actually interviewed Tucker's biographer about Tucker. So it's not like we're just saying, oh, we're going against the guy. The guy has gone off the rails.
Again, I don't even want to waste time explaining it because it's self-explanatory. But I do want to talk about the fact that they got rid of his son, which I said to you, and we discussed with the audience, how this was an untenable situation to have him as the deputy press secretary privy to top secret confidential information that the vice president is rightfully supposed to get. And I just thought this can't last another week. And of course it didn't. It didn't.
Well, and there are some very real things that I think are being looked into.
Oh, you froze up a little bit there.
I don't know if you picked up on this in the news lately, but about the strait being open or they come to an agreement and the markets shift.
Yeah.
There's been at least one person or one group, something's happening, but all of a sudden $150 million 10 minutes before he says something.
Oh, the betting on the market,
and it's like, how are these people learning this? How do they know?
That's a good question.
No, I'm just saying. So who and all has access to some very sensitive top secret information?
Too many people. The answer is too many people.
And
that's why it's shocking to me to this day that his own supporters, and I'm not talking to the left, I'm talking to the people who are Trump supporters, do not understand his dialogue and verbiage in terms of trying to reach a deal on any particular political issue, including now with the Iranians. They believe that he's talking personally to them at home in the middle of Indiana when he's really talking to the Iranians and to the people opposed to him succeeding in this conflict in the Middle East. And people are just going, well, he's all over the map. Dude, at this point in April 2026, you do not know how he speaks and deals with making deals. It's shocking to me. It's just shocking how people would take him semantically at this point in the history of Trump.
Well, and to be fair, I don't know if you saw all of it. I saw clips from it. Maria Bartoloma, I guess is.
I did. I did.
He had a hoarse voice, and she's like, you know, why is that? Is that because you're talking to us? No, I've been yelling all day at Iranians. He said, that's I have to do that. I have to yell because they don't hear me unless I'm yelling. And
maybe it's a cultural thing for them. Maybe it's cultural.
Well, it is a cultural thing, and I don't think people understand it. I'm not going to say I'm an expert in culture, but they don't usually respond to sweet nothings. They respond to
the only thing they're going to respond to is bombing the living shit out of them. He gave them every chance on the earth to make a deal. Do this. I'm not even in support of him going back to Islamabad, JD Vance, going into harm's way there in Islamabad.
Well, that's been stalled, so who knows? Yeah.
Right. I mean, that whole thing was so crazy, sending him in there to in the middle of a crazy non-aligned country, essentially. You know, I mean, it's just it was so scary. But the point of the matter is, they're jerking him around. Everybody fucking knows he's getting jerked around. They just bomb the living shit out of him and call it a day. You know, it's just ridiculous. He's not going to, if they surrendered on the deck of the USS Gerald Ford, the left and the media would say Trump lost. If
they would say it was the same deal as Obama. They're already saying that. Have you noticed that? They're like, how is this any different? I'm like, well, wait a minute. Who's in charge of the government? What kind of army, what kind of navy do they have? How can you say that this is the same
because
deal?
There is no checks or balances. They allow these people to keep their FCC licenses. Now they have to pay the piper. Imagine rooting for the Nazis and the Third Reich on radio in 1944. That's essentially what these guys are doing. Putting out Third Reich Nazi propaganda in 1944 on WNBC radio out of New York. This is the equivalent of what they're doing in 2026. And yet this is supposedly allowed to happen. Instead, I recommend shutting them down in the time of the conflict and banning them from doing this as long as this conflict continues under an Emergency War Powers Act. But I know I'm a nut. I'm a psycho.
I agree. Now, while everybody's talking about, our undying allegiance to Trump and how he could do no wrong of
why do they
any
keep going
kind,
back to this?
Why
do they keep going back to this? They are fucking autistic as hell, Eric. Go ahead.
But while they're doing that, let's go ahead and discuss his decision on Saturday with Joe Rogan. We've got a little clip here, and we'll lead into this. So everybody, go ahead and listen to us kiss Trump's ass a little bit more following this.
I want to tell everybody how this happened. I sent President Trump some information. We have a gigantic opiate problem in this country, obviously. In 2024, more than 80,000 people died of overdoses. It's a horrible number. And there's more than 5 million people that are addicted to opiates right now in this country. With one dose of Ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free.
Can you play that again so people hear that what he's saying here?
Sure.
Opiates right now in this country. With one dose of Ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that.
All right, so go and say it out loud. So just in case they didn't hear it, is a little quiet.
Right.
With one dose of Ibogaine, I think he said.
It's not Ibogaine. It's Ibogaine.
Ibogaine. Okay. Right. 80% of people are cured from opiate addiction.
Hold on. 80% of heroin addicts are. I just want to be specific to what Joe said, because this bald-headed bastard is an expert on drugs, and he keeps taking them every single weekend of his life up until now, bragging about them on his show. When he's talking about 80% of people cured from heroin addiction from Ibogaine, he is absolutely full of shit. And the president of the United States is right in front of him, having to listen to this street-level drug guy telling you what Eric is about to say. Go ahead.
And 90%, or after 2 doses, 90%. And I think he said the word cured.
Yes, he did. Go on. Let's play it to make sure.
Okay, let me back up to make sure.
Go ahead.
People are free of that addiction. With 1 dose of Ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that information. The text message.
Who's that guy next to Joe
Rogan? Let me explain this for people at home. The fact that RFK Jr. is standing there without saying a word is so embarrassing as to be ridiculous. You're talking about a heroin addict in recovery with 30 plus years of recovery standing right there. Listen to this schmuck saying Ibogaine is a cure for heroin addiction. At best, and these studies are at best, it will allow you to come off of heroin, to merely detox from heroin. It has nothing to do with curing you of addiction. It's used to simply detox you from heroin addiction, to remove the withdrawal symptoms. That has nothing to do with curing addiction. It's 2 different planets. And the fact that this guy is saying it's a cure for addiction in the Oval Office with the head of HHS standing next to him and the president of the United States in front of him is possibly one of the most ridiculous things I've heard since drinking bleach to cure COVID. That's how nuts this fucking thing is by Joe Rogan.
And there we go.
Absolutely fucking insane. And to make a point even harder, they want to legalize. There's a movement in this country to legalize psychedelics. In this thing here, what they're talking about is treating our vets with Ibogaine because they have PTSD. But Mark, you don't understand. The vets have suffered. There are experiments that I could show you going back to institutions run by the government where Ken Kesey was able to get LSD during 1963. 1964, I could show you video of U.S. military soldiers in uniform in an LSD experiment marching under the influence of acid. I could show you Lexington, Kentucky, where free drugs were given out. Go ahead, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the last time they were using psychedelics for government experimentation.
A typical drill sergeant ordered his men to fall in. The squad, composed of volunteers for the test, responded like well-trained soldiers, immediately and without question. On the drill field, the men obeyed his commands accurately and with precision. A second drill sergeant assumed command. He put the squad through its paces capably. This man also proved to be an able drill sergeant, giving precise commands.
Watch what happens when they come out of the barracks, Eric. If you could go a little forward, they will go into the barracks and get dosed with LSD.
The response was not the same.
This is now under the influence of government.
Yeah, the giggle fest.
This is the same platoon.
The squad leader thought it was not necessary for him to dress right. There was much laughter as the group attempted to give expression to inner emotion. This elation was group supported, and an individual who was separated from the group would show severe disturbance.
Yeah, this one guy's not even moving.
Yeah,
anything.
Watch this. Here's again. This guy keeps saluting over and over again.
Notice the volunteer who salutes several times. 5 minutes later, his severe depression caused the medical officers to end his participation in the test. Response and actions of the drill sergeants who did not receive LSD were as before. But in marching, the drug squad, although starting fairly well, gave a sluggish and ragged performance.
Yeah, they're breaking down pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of dark. It's kind of dark. You know, I asked Dr. Drew about it, and he said a lot of people are going to get hurt. Been sharing notes with other doctors, and we've all seen the same thing. Helps for like 6 months, but virtually everyone goes back, Eric, because, of course, they have no Narcotics Anonymous or 12-step program. And the more concerning issue is unpredictable personality changes. That's from an addictionologist named Drew Pinsky. This thing is an outrage because, again, the soldiers are going to be the pin cushions for not only COVID vaccines, not only LSD in the 60s, not only experimental drugs in Lexington, Kentucky, in a federal prison where Whitey Bulger was given 73 hits of acid, and as were other people like Wayne Kramer, an old friend of mine from the MC5, was given free heroin inside of a federal prison as part of another experiment.
Ted Kaczynski is
Ted Kaczynski. It goes on and on and on. It goes on and on and on. The fact that this guy, Joe Rogan, a guy who's a comic, is standing there talking about fucking federal drug policy is insane. The fact that Trump does not have a chief of staff to keep this guy off camera and leaning over his chair is possibly the schmuckiest thing I've ever seen in the White House. And then to have this RFK Jr. just standing there on steroids, allowing Rogan to talk for him. He knows more about psychedelia than anybody. They want to declassify ibogaine. They want to do studies. There will be clinics in Beverly Hills within a year. I covered the Matthew Perry death last week from ketamine. They opened up clinics as soon as ketamine was declassified and knocked down. They opened up clinics right in Beverly Hills, and all these girls and boys were showing up for take-home doses of ketamine. This is what's going to happen with ibogaine. RFK Jr. knows this. It's not about experimenting in a fucking lab. We're way past that point as a society. This is now going to trickle out into the culture. You will now be seeing ibogaine kids in the American culture, and they will hear the voice of Joe Rogan saying to them it's a cure for heroin addiction. Fuck him.
Yeah, there you go. And now, just so I'm understanding it, does that mean that there is no value in it whatsoever, or it's they're misprescribing where it could be of use and trying to give it too broad of a brush?
Started with a guy named Rick Perry. Rick Perry claimed as an adult, he had an alcohol problem. He claimed he had had 3 concussions as a kid all of a sudden when he fucked up a debate and lost his place, and he said he was on painkillers. So you got this whole mixed thing with Rick Perry as an addict. So he starts doesn't know what to do. He gets funded in the tune of $50 million for an NGO called Americans for Ibogaine. Guess what? 50 million additional dollars just went to Americans for Ibogaine yesterday with Trump signing that executive order. And guess who has a salary there? Rick Perry, who's no longer the governor, but now is running a nonprofit organization for Ibogaine. How nice. Now, if only we can get into the VA hospital and try this out on vets, then I could justify getting more federal money for my incredible group called Americans for Ibogaine. Give me a break. Give me a break.
So he's into that, and Boehner's into the cannabis.
He's the leader of it.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say he's kind of like, and Boehner is into cannabis, if I recall.
That's right. That's where because they were approached by these groups. Once they were out of office, they have no money flow. So, of course, Boehner would be involved in the cannabis industry. And, of course, Rick Perry would be involved in the ibogaine industry. It was the greatest day of Rick Perry's life yesterday, seeing Joe Rogan from Texas going up there and railing that ibogaine's the cure for addiction. Do you know how many times in this recovery movement since World War II there's been cures for addiction? I mean, it's absolutely like the perpetual motion machine where you can't get a patent on it because it's not declared workable. I mean, it is an incurable chronic illness that needs lifelong treatment. Ibogaine is used simply to allow you to detox from heroin for a day. That's the difference from what he's talking about.
Okay, so it has use as like day one, but then they go into AA or NA or things like that over time.
Of course, but there's plenty of ways to do it without ibogaine. There's other drugs that are available to do the same thing. What they want to do is open up another commercial market for yet another substance that they could sell. It's not about that. It's never been about that. It's always about opening up a new market for the cure to addiction. That's what it's about, the cure. You got to this goes back to the 1920s, Eric. I mean, I've written a whole book about that. Read my book, Rehab Nation. It has the whole history of American cures for addiction, quack cures for addiction, going back to the 1880s.
All right, it looks like we have an expert in the chat here. Tim Greenglass says, as usual, Grobert is poorly informed. Ibocaine is not pleasurable.
Nobody said that. Again, nobody said that. Schmuckface. Listen to what I said. I did not say it was a pleasure. You're putting that in there. You thought I wouldn't catch it, but I'm too well informed to miss actual words on a screen.
Anyway, everybody who's wanting to, go in that, read my book, this and that. He has written a book. It's not a criticism to have somebody say, read my book. Why did he write it? Because he did the research for it. How long has he been doing addiction counseling? I would argue he knows more about addiction counseling than he does about Trump or politics.
That's true. That's true. But so, I do know. I do know.
There's this guy named Dr. Drew. I suppose you're going to say that Drew's an idiot, doesn't know anything about it. He's only like the most renowned expert on addiction science as a doctor in the country, but. No, throw him out. He's obviously stupid.
That is true. You know, there's something about the mass populist movement that has a downside sometimes.
And here we go. Philip Escobar. I wrote a book, so I am the expert. LL. Did he say that?
What? Again, you're adding words to the sentence. Nice try, douchebag. Nice try. That's not what I said, of course. Nice try, schmuck. What? Who else is up? Anybody else?
Oh, there's a few in there.
It doesn't really matter.
Pulling stuff here and there.
The same. But I'll tell you some weirdly related story is because we got to move on from this. Kash Patel suing the Atlantic magazine for them saying he's an alcoholic. I mean, I've never seen this FBI director move so fast in his life. He's been dragging his feet on every single type of political crime in the country. All of a sudden, somebody accuses him in an article of drinking too much, and he responded within 18 hours. I wish he'd respond as fast as that for some of these political crimes we've been screaming about, Eric.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I actually pulled up a clip on that. Hopefully I have it. Here we go. Not from him, but from Bongino. People, will lump them together automatically. Like they're attached at the hip. But he's commenting directly on point with that.
Okay.
And so here's what Bongino is saying.
One final thing, too, before we start that. This is just the beginning of the show. I promise you this. Look at me. Everybody zooming in?
Yeah.
Fokker, that's an O. The hit on Kash Patel, the bullshit hit by the Atlantic, which I addressed yesterday, is going to make a lot more sense in the coming weeks and months. I can't give you a definitive timeline. I'm on the outside now. However, I can tell you what I know is going on because I started a lot of it.
Okay.
It's going to make a lot more sense.
In what way?
Real soon.
Okay.
As to why the left-wing media and the Democrats want Kash Patel out.
What?
I promise.
Oh, my God.
Look at me.
Look, this suit is going nowhere. It's being dismissed. Calling someone an alcoholic, it goes back to 1785 with John Adams. I mean, the idea that Kash Patel is going to be successful because a periodical in the public stage called him an alcoholic. Good luck advancing that lawsuit, bro. Good luck. That's absurd.
Well, it's an interesting tack that they are taking. As somebody shared something with me earlier, I don't have it by, but they were talking about how Hegseth. Remember, they've been saying the same attack on Hegseth. Remember, he's a drunk. Can't be washed. Everything else, and somebody did a long piece on it saying this is part of the strategy to break apart the government, and getting to the military is the most important bit. Is if you can get the military to stand down or to not support Trump, you can unravel the whole government as a strategy. And Hegseth is a diehard Trump guy. So that's why they're attacking him.
No, I'm saying, but these attacks have gone back to the 1870s, 1780s. I mean, this is nothing new. about calling your opponent a drunk or a cheater or a wife beater. I mean, that's allowed in our media.
Or a
That's allowed.
cross-dresser or a
Right.
yeah,
I mean, what is he kidding me? Does he think some judge is going to say, yes, go ahead on your case, Mr. Patel? The fact that he responded so quickly shows that they struck a nerve. Shows that he's thin-skinned about this and may indeed have a problem. I don't know if he's got a problem. That's up to him. But there's no legal path for this thing. I mean, that's ridiculous. He's suing the Atlantic because they said he may have a drinking problem. Good luck with that, my friend.
Yeah.
I just wish he would respond as quick to some of the cases like Matthew Crooks, like the bomber who planted the pipe bombs on January 6th. He seems to not respond to those for months and months and months and months and months. This thing, 18 hours.
True. I mean, obviously they're not apples to apples, but okay.
I'm not saying they're apples to apples, but he's apples to apples. He's the head of the FBI.
Yeah. All right. So a story on a positive note that seems to be slipping below the headline or people forgot about, and I thought it was very interesting. As of yesterday, Cuba confirms direct talks with the U.S.
Cool. Wow.
And that was yesterday. So
wow.
So while everything is going on, it says here, Cuba confirmed on April 20th that it recently held direct talks with U.S. officials in Havana.
Love that.
Havana even.
Love it. Well, that's a nice vacation.
Why not? Marking a rare diplomatic engagement as tensions persist over their economic restrictions on the communist nation. The Deputy Director General for U.S. Affairs at the Cuban Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in remarks published on April 20th by Cuban Communist Party newspaper Granma.
That's my favorite. Yeah, that's a good one.
That discussions were underway. This is a delicate matter, which, as we have already said, we're handling discreetly. So there's some movement going there. And the fact that we're talking and that there's even a person whose role is to have a relationship.
It's funny because these are not really talks. These are dictations of surrender terms, all of these things. Iran is the dictation of surrender terms. Cuba is the dictation of surrender terms. Venezuela was a dictation of surrender terms. And now I predict, again, Maria Corina Machado will be the next president of Venezuela. As I said, when the event happened, I'm sticking with that. She's speaking to massive crowds in Madrid, Spain, in Venezuela. She will be, whenever they have a cockamamie election down there, that's who's going to be dealing with Trump on a good side regarding free oil trade and capitalist economy.
Interesting thing, though, you mentioned speaking to crowds in Spain. She's speaking to specific crowds in Spain. She's not speaking to the left-wing parties. It's specifically right-wing everywhere she is going.
Absolutely. She avoided the prime minister. She avoided the Marxist leadership in the Spanish government, and yet speaking to overflowing crowds outside of her hotel. Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Right. So I just wanted to point that out because that is a significant, because Spain is pulling some shenanigans with their immigration and everything else.
Absolutely.
As we just discussed.
She went right into the belly of their beast.
Yeah,
she did.
Well, she's got that Nobel Prize, which helps. That's kind of a nice little ticket to enter.
It gives you a lot of strength and a lot of gravitas for sure,
especially in Europe. Especially there, because what can they say? Because that is the highest regarded thing possible. It's a little bit like a Congressional Medal of Honor. I don't know if you're familiar with how that works, but when somebody wins a Congressional Medal of Honor, it is such a high medal that at least at one point, from what I understand, if a CMH winner was to visit a base, the base commander must greet them.
What?
It's that high of an award. No, they are heroes, certified all the way down the line. And I kind of feel like the Nobel Peace Prize is on that ilk. You can't just ignore her.
I agree. I mean, who's ignoring her? I mean, she's starting to pick up support around the world.
Mm-hmm. And they will definitely be annoyed. Now, on a interesting note here, did you see this about Representative Sheila Cherfilius McCormick?
What?
She's a
Dude, these people got to
Democrat.
get some names. Go ahead.
No, I can't say it. I'm sorry. Anyway, she is a Democrat out of Florida, and she resigned just 20 minutes before they were about to vote her and kick her out of Congress. She
Boy, a lot of these ghetto blacks are getting run out of town, as are the women in the Trump administration. They took down that Latina yesterday. She's out. That means that Bondi and Nome, and now the woman at the what's her name, Sanchez at the agriculture, who had a liquor bar in her office partying. He's gotten rid of 3 top cabinet officials who were dames in the span of 2 weeks. Trump.
right.
But what happened with this one?
Hold on. Let me answer this really quickly.
Okay.
I misspoke.
Yeah.
Earn the Medal of Honor. Okay. I don't mean it like a prize that somebody wins, but earn, if that makes people feel better. So
okay.
Anyway,
moving on. I think we understood what he meant, shitface. I think we understood what
it
the
doesn't
guy
matter.
meant.
I misspoke.
Again, these are
acknowledge
autistic, semantically insane, challenged people. We're trying to have a conversation with the American public. You people who are autistic need us to speak grammatically and incredibly correct and precise. Otherwise, bells and whistles go off in your fucking head.
Or wind chimes.
Oh, wind chimes. So what happened to her? They voted her out or what?
She resigned from Congress. She was about to appear before an ethics panel over her alleged theft of $5 million in taxpayer money.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's unbelievable. It really is. The brazenness is outrageous.
And of course, as tight as it is in the House already, I'm sure that people are glad. It's like,
Of course.
well, that's one coming back the other way.
Right.
But what a complete disaster.
That's a lot of money.
Her attitude has changed a little bit since last fall.
It's Friday. Oh, last fall.
Okay, this is her talking about this last fall. So
I hereby resign my office. Oh.
Thoughts on the indictment, please? Well, it's an unjust indictment.
What?
It seems like these intimidation tactics have been pervasive.
is sound broken now?
Yeah, it's a little low.
Okay, I'm not even hearing it. So.
Yeah, I'm not even hearing it. Okay, we get the point.
All right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I'll help you out. It's
help
because
me out
I'm
on
black.
this. Is what?
Her statement essentially was, "It's because I'm black."
Oh, get the fuck out of Congress already. Go back to the projects. Go back to fucking Waffle House and have a fight with 12 other people who look like you. Give me a break already.
Anyway, so that goodbye to her.
Goodbye to her and Betty Crocker. Who was the other one? Crocker, who was kicked out of Texas.
Yeah, well, yeah, she was at least voted. Well, her seat's gone, and
Right.
then she lost the primary for senator.
That's fair.
Which So it's a normal course.
Right.
And then the guy that beat her, fortunately, I think has a ton of baggage that suddenly came out.
Oh, he's got
he won the
baggage.
primary, so that should help keep Texas.
Is it
safer.
possible that we have been ending up with the lowest common denominator citizens in the country who have all this baggage, who have nothing to lose by running for a particular seat? If they win, they win. If they lose, they keep the money. It's like a political game show. You know, you're a guy who's a convict or cheated on your wife or took meth or whatever, and you go, hey, you run for city council. If you lose, there's a lot of campaign money that you could keep. I don't know, maybe 18 grand. Or
How about Curtis Sliwa for mayor?
For Curtis Sliwa for mayor. I mean, but that's a big office, and he still didn't get caught.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go another one. How about Tiffany Hinyard for county?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Down in Fulton after she's,
there's a million of them. And there's also a million that we haven't uncovered yet who seem to get uncovered every once in a while when they're running against someone or someone files a Freedom of Information Act request to find out, oh, he was in jail for murder for 7 years. We keep going through this, but what I'm saying is the process starts because there's no gatekeeping at the bottom. Nobody says, who are you? You're going to run for city council. Okay, good luck. There's no vetting. The media has disappeared. This used to be a focus of the media of the local city to say that Jim Jensen, I remember this guy, Jim Jensen. We did a story on him 11 years ago when he beat the shit out of everyone at the high school and stabbed a guy. I'm just making some stuff up, but that part is gone now. That unofficial.
Well, it's half gone. If it's a Republican, I guarantee they find it.
Well, let's take a look at the sheriff who is covering the Nancy Guthrie case, as opposed to finding stuff on someone recently.
Who's also a Democrat, by the way.
Who's also a Democrat, by the way. The sheriff who is down there in Eric's own old home county down by Tucson has apparently got some baggage they're finding out now about him just today. This is only because of the Arizona Republic, the paper, filing documents to find out the truth about this guy through multiple public records requests.
Can I point something out really quick? It's important.
Go ahead.
Arizona Republic is out of Phoenix, not the Tucson paper. So I want to point this out. But it is relevant that the Tucson Citizen and the Arizona Daily Star, which run out of Tucson,
you're right.
Have not done this. So it's taken another city to kind of go, who is this guy down there in Tucson? So
but I don't even look at it that way, because if the New York Times could have done this, I don't care who did it. Yeah, I don't care who did it. The fact of the matter is, all you had to do was file these documents and turn up a public records request, which is why I'm saying this used to be standard journalism 101. Again, you're correct about who's doing it. But what I'm saying is the process itself has disappeared. This is a mega national case that has been in the media for months. Nobody bothered to check out what this guy's background was, Chris Nanos, who's now 70. And if you go through it, it is absolutely insane. He was suspended. Go ahead. Take a look at it. Go ahead.
Chris Nanos, 70, was suspended 8 times when he worked for the El Paso Police Department in Texas early in his career.
The outlet obtained records. Go ahead.
He was
go through some of the charges. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, dude.
No. There was a gap there. I thought you were going to give up or something. Go ahead.
Anyway, no, they obtained records from public records requests, which detailed a litany of alleged violations from Nanos when he was a young police officer. He's accused of using excessive force against suspects, making a false statement to authorities, off-duty gambling, and tardiness on the jobs. One allegation, Nanos was suspended after being accused of beating a handcuffed suspect so badly he was hospitalized and suffered severe blood loss, a suspension notice showed. Another alleged incident saw Nanos disciplined for using profanity to insult women. While another said he made threats to waste a witness who made a complaint against him. He then lied to authorities about having stopped the witness on the street, according to the records. So there's a start for all of
these. And I'm not even picking on this guy. What I'm picking on is the fact that he's an elected official, and there's no gate to do this, which I'm recommending. This gate at the beginning of somebody running for anything, that you file a public records request, put it out in the paper of your local area saying, by the way, this guy Nanos is running for sheriff of Tucson, Eric?
Yes. Well, Pima County. Pima County, technically.
Pima County. He's running this week. We don't know anything about any of the candidates. Here's what our public records request turned up. Not at 70 when he's about to fucking retire. I mean, this never would have happened if it wasn't for the Nancy Guthrie case. In other words, nobody would have done this.
Well, why didn't his opponent? That's what makes me wonder, because he has zero confidence. Remember, I read before that out of the whole department, he got a vote of zero confidence, through the union
because
and all
they
members.
Knew this.
And another officer, police officer, deputy was running against him. I'm kind of shocked that I believe it's a female, her campaign did not dig into him. Why did, what were you doing?
I don't know.
Why wasn't this in the election?
I have no idea.
He won on a recount by a hangnail.
Yeah, you got me. But what I'm saying is she could have had stuff that we don't know about. What we have to do is put this out for every candidate in the country at every level, so we don't get these scumbags anymore. I know this sounds impossible, but it was done for free by the media for 100 years in this country.
Well,
Now
that
they've
was
got-
back in the blue collar media days too. To be fair, like
Exactly.
Matt Taibbi has talked about that, how his father
Exactly.
was a blue collar, and
Mike
there was
Taibbi,
no.
yep.
He didn't give it. They didn't give a damn about whether it was a Democrat or Republican. If they smell corruption, they were all for it. It was all about exposing people, and
Absolutely.
who cared what they were.
Right. But now this guy's 70 and he's probably going to retire unscathed.
Oh, I'm sure, because he
But how
can't
many
get
are
reelected
there
here.
like him across the country? There could be tens of thousands for all we know. If I'm a guy with that kind of record and I just saw this guy run his entire career without getting molested politically, what am I going to do? Turn myself in? I'm going to run for office. This guy got away with it.
Right. And at least for a while. And even if you get caught,
Even if they get
how
caught.
bad is it really? You've got everything, pocketed away. I mean, Ilhan Omar, look at her. She's going out there, and this, she went from 18,000 to 6 to 30 million, back now to 85,000 or 90. I can't keep up. But it was, hold on, Mark. It was an accounting error that she signed off on, because I guess it was her vision blurry and she couldn't see the zeros. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Part of the problem is that they've given her 5 fucking years to deal with this instead of indicting her for fraud and corruption when it first came up. She's now been able to launder the money, I presume, send it back to Somalia, hide it in various NGOs for her to get later, which is what she's done, and now has left 100. This is my interpretation of what she did. She now has 100 grand in her bank account. The money has been scurried away through bells and whistles because they didn't pursue her, because they don't have the fucking balls to take down their opponents. And it is about balls and just doing justice. It's shocking. How many more stories are we going to hear from John Solomon and Bongino and everyone else? Omar's about to be arrested. I don't want to hear about to be arrested anymore. The American people on our side are tired of this lingo. Take somebody down, for Christ's sakes. This guy, Kash Patel, he filed a lawsuit within 5 seconds because somebody called him a drunk. But he can't take down Ilhan Omar.
Right. So somebody in the chat's lost. So let me just say real quick. Who we are talking about is the sheriff in Pima County, Arizona, Chris Nanos, who was involved in the Nancy Guthrie case. And I segued by pointing out the politician Ilhan Omar, who very recently in the news came up to address the claims about her having $6 to $30 million, which she agreed to.
Yes.
Because when they were saying that she had $30 million, she said, no, it's a range between 6 and 30 million. So she acknowledged at a minimum $6 million, but now has come and said, oops, it was an accounting error, and I really only have, I think it's around $80,000 or $90,000.
$80,000. Right. So part of what she said publicly was she owns vineyards, if I remember correctly, and it could vary in terms of how much the vineyard is worth. And I'm going, okay, whatever. I don't care. That's probably true. But now she's had enough time to launder and hide the money. And now when they finally get off their fat asses to go look, her bank account is simply going to say 80 grand because they gave her the courtesy, and she probably got a call from Nancy Pelosi's people on how to hide the money. It's not rocket science, people. It really isn't. And yet the Republicans seem to find a way to fuck up a fumble recovery in the opponent's end zone.
Well, I think part of this is the Republicans also have some of their own swamp creatures that are out there. There's a lot of accusations going around about Corey Mills, that there's some real, I think he's also out of Florida or something. I don't remember, but some people have said that things haven't happened because they're so worried about losing his seat. So they're kind of doing this, trading in the background. An
attorney general has to be above these seat things. And they weren't above it when they took down George Santos. So it appears to go in one direction. And they do not have the cojones to go up against the Democratic machine. They are willing to lose. They are willing to go to prison. They're willing to be indicted themselves when they take power because of their cowardice. It really is shocking what they're willing to put up with. It really is. How many
I
more
agree.
J6 prisoners do we need before you learn that they're going to incarcerate you?
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. But I'm not going to pretend that it's only Democrats when there are some real scumbag.
I don't care who
Republicans
they
or
get.
rhinos in there
Yeah,
too.
I agree with you. But you got to do something.
Yeah.
You can't just say somebody called me an alcoholic. I'm suing the Atlantic for my own personal reasons. I mean, this
Yeah.
guy's obviously got some baggage here, whether they're targeting him or not from the left. I mean, we've had mudslinging in the media going back to 1778. You know, this is an American tradition.
Well, the election of 1800 is fun. Everybody read up on that.
Read
because
up on
that's
that
one of the greatest in history for
mudslinging.
Oh God! Well, yes, that's when Adams was called a cross-dresser. They addressed everybody was talking about Thomas Jefferson's children. Okay,
Right,
all the way back then. The Sally Henning stuff is not new. It's not a new discovery. That was discussed in the election of 1800. The language that was used makes it look like patty cake now, like it, like gentlemanly diatribes compared to then. And keep in mind that a vice president literally shot somebody to death in a duel, Alexander Hamilton. So things could be a little more heated.
I agree. And the idea that the court is going to accept this thing from Kash Patel is preposterous. And again, he's wasting our time and our money to go after some personal attack by the Atlantic. If that's your standard of going to work, he's never going to get anything done. I mean, really? That's what you're going to do now with our money? You're going to spend your time having personal lawsuits against media? Give me a break.
That's true. Now I'm going to shift gears to another story that's in kind of my neck of the news,
Right,
or something I know a little bit about, and that's Apple.
Oh,
Tim Cook.
Whoa.
I think it's interesting how they say abruptly resigns and names successor. Now, to be fair, I've known that Tim Cook was looking at retiring or resigning now for several months, maybe even a year. Whoa. And I knew it was going to be John Turnus. That it's been kind of talked about a lot in Apple circles. But I will say that the announcement did feel jarring, and it did feel sudden. But then I don't know. Who's to say it wasn't planned for 420 the whole time, and we don't know it. The board did vote unanimously. He has had it locked in place. He's floated multiple trial balloons over the months, and nobody's been screaming with their hair on fire. And the guy who's replacing him, John Turnus, is the guy behind the Apple Silicon Macs, which have set the world on fire. Some of the best hardware ever seen. The Apple Silicon has just shocked everybody. It flipped the CPU world upside down. Intel has been scrambling ever since 2020, and their hardware guy who did all of that is not a bad choice to replace him. Also, because he's a product guy, this is going back to that. Tim Cook is an operations guy, so he's great at keeping the trains on time, whatever, all the product lines, all of that. This is shifting back to a more Jobsian type of person. But I don't want to take away from Tim Pool, because when Tim Pool took over, when Steve Jobs died, Apple was worth $400 billion. Under Tim Cook, he made it a $4 trillion company. And that is a pretty big gain, if you will. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out and everything else. But September 1st, Apple will have John Turnus as the new CEO. Anybody who likes following Apple and Silicon Valley and the industry, because Apple is a major player in that.
Good luck, Tim Cook, in retirement. I'm gonna say gay sex scandal, just so everybody knows how I feel about it. Gay sex scandal. Okay, let's get on to this. I want to show you this, which I put on Twitter today. This is the new LA County information on how to vote. And I want to point out 4 things on here, which I put on X. The upper corner these are new things, Eric. That's why I'm saying this. The upper corner here that I've circled in red, it says you cannot register. It says, I am a U.S. citizen and resident of California. And then in red, they pointed out, if no, you cannot register. Si no puede inscribir para votar. Okay, so this is now new. This is new, saying you can't register if you are not a U.S. citizen or resident of California. Now, keep in mind, on the top line of the document, it says pre-register. That's how they get a pre-register illegal alien voting base. So they left this on here from the old days, and they've added this because the Trump administration is coming after them. Okay. Part 2 is the red circle that I circled in the middle in fine print, which I'm going to read to you, which is in very fine print. Vote by mail in all elections. Number 7, all active registered voters will be mailed a vote by mail ballot for every election. This has been established for years. If you want to vote in, now here's the fine print that's new that they don't point out as new. If you want to vote in person, Eric, you must turn in your vote by mail ballot, or you may be required to vote by a provisional ballot. In other words, the new scam is you have to show up at the election booth with your cockamamie mail-in ballot in hand, hand it off to somebody there to get checked off a list that you received a mail-in ballot and now have the legal right as an American to vote in the state of California, one of the 50 states. Keep that in mind, what they've done here, folks. Nobody's pointed that out. I just got this in the mail yesterday. This is yet another moving of the goalposts by California election officials. It then, this circle over here on the bottom is to indicate your party, Republican or Democrat, Green Party, Libertarian, whatever you want to do. Okay. If you circle the Republican Party, down below is a secret code that will indicate that you, Eric Hunley, have received this and are now a Republican voter. That code allows them to get this information that you circled above. Pretty slick. And then they could chuck the Republican ballots all fucking day long. Just wanted
Is
to
that the ballot that has the hole in it that lines up?
This is not the ballot yet. This is the registration to get the mail. This is the registration to vote.
Well, didn't they also have some form or something that had a hole in it that lined up with whatever was?
It lined up with the vote, with the, as you could see how you voted inside. That was convenient. So that became an issue because people like Tom Fenton at Judicial Watch, they just keep battling to the death every election with new ideas on how to deceive the voter here in California. And I'm assuming in other places. But that thing today of having to take your mail-in ballot to give it to somebody to check off your name so you can vote is going to eliminate a lot of people. And in fact, on the radio here yesterday, in Sacramento, the same thing happened. There was a lawyer on in a call-in show with, who's the morning guy? With Candarazzi, or we were talking about the Tim Candarazzi show, who replaced, he's a conservative. I forget the guy's name with a C, like an Italian, long Italian name. We've talked about it before. Anyway, this woman had called in about going to the election booth, not having a mail-in ballot. She didn't know what this was about. She said, I'm just here to vote. And they said, sorry, you're not on the list because of the mail-in ballot. And in other words, unless you bring it, they have no way to check whether you mailed it in already or you haven't mailed it in yet. All they see is you were mailed a mail-in ballot and it's in limbo. So when you go to vote, now this other ballot is floating out here. It could be on your porch. It could have been stolen. It could have been sent back by you. So now you've got another stopgap measure created by the Democratic Party in California.
And I'm sure that it's only a coincidence that the vast majority of people who vote in person nowadays happen to be Republican.
Oh, absolutely. They know that right away. They know that right away. Yeah.
So they
are blocking everyone at the booth by doing as much stuff at the booth as they can.
And can I point out, because you point out this convoluted measure now, Virginia, we've got a governor who's doing her best to make us like California. We're not there yet. we're hanging on barely. But today I went to vote, and I will describe the process that
Tell us.
I went
Yeah.
through here in Virginia. So I walked into the building. There was no line or anything, with my lovely wife, Leslie, and we walked in, and they said, "Hi, are you here to vote?" "Yes." "Okay, can you show me your ID?" And I said, "Yes." And I handed them my driver's license, which they set in front of the thing. And then they looked at it and they said, "What's your name and address?" And I told them what my name and address was. And they said, "Thank you." They handed me back my license and a little like printout, like a receipt almost.
Yeah.
And then they said, "Eric Hunley is going to vote." And then I walked over to the voting station, and there was a paper ballot. Remember those old fashioned things? There was a
Sure.
paper ballot.
Sure.
And I filled out the little bubble that was in that.
Yeah.
And then I walked over, and it was kind of crazy. I voted literally. There's one thing on it, yes or no. And it was
Yes
a
or no.
stupid thing
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I walked over and I put it in, and I watched it, go into the machine and read it. It really wasn't that difficult.
No.
It was a miracle. I mean, I could just.
That's
walk
why
in
they
with
had
my
to
license.
fuck with it, because it really isn't that difficult. Hence their motivation. How could we fuck this up? When they first came up with, the box number down in Texas that LBJ used, since time immemorial, they've been fucking it up. As the technology changes, so do they.
Right, and they're guaranteeing, they're literally forcing people to mail it in. They're saying, okay, you might as well just mail it in. By the way, if you're an illegal, especially.
Right. Well, put it this way. If you could get everyone to mail it in, you now have a buffer between you and the voter that didn't exist before. Forget about what you're doing with the envelopes. Forget about that. It at least gives you the opportunity to fuck around with the ballot that's now in your hand in some random building somewhere that you could now manipulate, that you couldn't do when Eric physically went into the booth. You know why? There were no buffers between Eric and the booth. That's what they had to come up with a way to sever. And their genius came up with 100% mail-in ballots as an answer. And when that stopped, which eventually it will, they're going to come up with something else. And that's why I was starting to read you the fine print on this voter registration card, because their minds are thinking 24/7. You're busy at work, going to church, taking care of your family, raising kids. They're busy coming up with schemes and scams 24/7 to help legitimize the vote and save democracy.
There's also layers of deniability that are built in there. Like, I don't know what happened to that box. Oh my God.
We literally saw it on film of them pulling out ballots from underneath a counter in Atlanta, to trucks pulling up in the middle of the night. Nobody was prosecuted for any of this stuff. So they'll do it again. They're willing to take a minimum wage single black mother who's willing to do this and throw her under the bus for the greater good. If somebody did get caught, which they haven't.
And of course, the disgusting height of irony, where I am, where we're doing the recount and everything to try to get it to where there will be 9 Democrats, and one, poor Republican. That would be fun. We'll call him the Scott Jennings seat. You have Obama actually doing ads talking about how the Republicans are trying to steal the election. Remember all the comments about all of January 6th and everything else is that, the Republicans are lying and so paranoid because our perfectly secure, most secure voting system ever, unless we don't like the results or we want to do something, then we're very concerned about the structure and stability of the vote. Let
me tell you something. I don't know if you knew this, but I didn't know it either. Apparently, Obama, since the past couple of years, every week or two goes around the Senate and he talks to all the Democratic senators to keep them in line with his policies. In other words, he's his own whip. He's his own minority Senate leader, and he has been going into the halls of the Senate. And he ran into a blockade this week in one man out of Pennsylvania who literally said to him, "Get out of here. I don't work for you, bro." And that was John Fetterman, who said, "I do not work for you, sir." this thing here that Eric's pulling up is really fascinating, not just for Fetterman's courage, but for the fact that Obama is scurrilously lurking around the halls of Congress and the Senate, trying to arm twist American Democratic senators into doing his fucking shadow government bidding. Nobody finds this to be insane. I mean, if George Bush Jr. was running around doing this after he got elected, those people's heads would have exploded.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's insane. And Fetterman does deserve a shit ton of credit, because I can, you know, I can criticize about talking the talk, and I have at one point saying, well, he's talking the talk, but no, how many times have we seen now that he's literally the Rand Paul countermeasure?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he votes too.
Yeah.
You know, supporting Trump on a lot of this stuff. And
right on.
That takes balls. I mean,
but telling Obama I don't work for you, bro, is one of the ballsiest things I've ever heard from a Democrat.
Yeah, well, he'll be primary now, I'm sure.
No, I'm sure he wasn't happy to hear that, and no. He's going to be targeted by their black base for sure.
And I got to give it to him. Okay, the arc he has had from being a vegetable to being somewhat enlightened is,
I know,
it's astounding. Now, it's almost like the Marco Rubio arc, and I don't want to be mean, but I mean, Marco Rubio, you know, again was you know, sketchy, and he's turned into a real dynamo for Trump.
Right, so but he didn't come from the woke Democratic
side. No.
I mean,
no, nobody went from vegetable to.
But I'm saying Fetterman moved politically from the far left to a conservative, old style, moderate Democrat.
Like Manchin, he's a lot like Joe Manchin of West Virginia.
I don't know. I'd have to see that voting record, but probably right.
Yeah, he essentially caucused with Republicans a lot of the time.
Well, is he doing that, Fetterman? Is he caucusing?
Not exactly, but he votes enough with it, you know, on a lot of the common sense stuff. So it is what it is. I mean,
I'll take that.
Yeah, obviously,
there's your CNN friend came up with that. What's the guy's name over at CNN with the charts? Always has the numbers.
Harry Enton.
Harry Enton, I think, pointed out how much the Democratic Party hates the Jews and put up some big numbers, Eric.
Negative 55 now. It went from like but it was like they always hated them, but now they just really hate them. It was
I'm just glad my parents aren't alive to see this.
Well, and that's probably, I think that's what drove Dershowitz over.
Yeah,
it's like, look, there is no home for you. There is none.
Well,
Sorry,
Bill Maher has got to pick up the pace, because Dershowitz is already driving the car. I mean, if Maher wants to jump in and come over, I mean, he would join Matt Taibbi, RFK Jr., the woman running the NDI thing, Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, there's a lot of his old friends over here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see if we're going to see Dershowitz appearing on Club Random, that would be a fun episode.
With Bill Maher Sr.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I want to see that episode. It might take Bill Maher longer because of the weed to get somewhere. Because of the fog that he's in.
I think he actually is deliberately going back and forth, so he could say that I'm the last man standing.
Oh, he is now.
Blame both sides. No, but career wise,
yeah,
it's beneficial to him, I think, to stay. And if I'm being fair to him, he has had Republicans on, his show for decades.
Right.
He has kind of, a regular crew. John McCain, I know he's verboten, but Tucker apparently loved John McCain, was talking about how he loved John McCain and his kids love John McCain, which I'm like, wait, what? Oh, okay.
All right.
That's curious. How do you reconcile that? Because if I recall, John McCain was the one who had the little ditty he did, bomb, 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 bomb Iran. Didn't he have that ditty?
They're just
people so much.
Inconsistency is their middle name. It really is. I mean, there's just no rhyme or reason to anything, and that's usually indicative that somebody's your puppet master. If somebody's making you dance to ideological tunes that you don't historically have videotape of you agreeing with, unless you're gaslighting the planet Earth, people can look it up.
Yeah, no, I agree. And by the way, those who want to, there's clips around I have, so I won't say I've seen the whole interview, but the interview with Tucker and his brother, Buckley, it's very interesting because Tucker's spending a lot of time like this.
What's
Like
that?
kind of like a self-soothing
Whoa.
hug. And he was saying this, and his brother's like, yep. And I'm like, are you reporting to your brother? Anyway, it's an interesting vibe that is there while he's saying some of
where does he go now that he's apologized to his supporters for convincing them to vote for Donald Trump? Where is his political road now? He's apologized. He says he has to live with it for the rest of his life, that he convinced a big segment of the American public who follow him to vote for Donald Trump. Where do you go from there?
Jimmy Kimmel. You saw he was saying he was crediting him. Remember, Jimmy Kimmel was like, oh, to their credit. So watch for Tucker appearing on Jimmy Kimmel tonight.
Okay. Oh, that would be fun.
That's my answer. I could.
Yeah. No, but I mean, that's just an appearance on a comedy show. I mean,
no, but I'm saying there's a wing of
what do you do with that life? You don't go over to the Marxist left and say, I'm here, embrace me. I mean, that's really a bridge.
Cutter. He could go there.
Well, that might be true. Yeah. Because I mean, he can't just go back and forth, endorse Trump one day now, then criticize him the next, go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He's crossed that bridge and burned it, it seems to me, by apologizing to all his supporters for helping Trump get elected.
Well, yes, there's Cutter. Oh, you know what? He could go to Portugal. I think one of his guests is out of Portugal. Is it Peru? A fine location? And Puerto Rico. There, some interesting financial backgrounds. You find them in Puerto Rico, Portugal. There's many places that they can go, Mark. While they're trashing America.
Okay. Well, I meant politically and not physically, but
I'm sorry. I
meant politically.
I'm too literal.
Yeah.
Like the audience.
Disease too. But you seem to function somehow on a level that's sophisticated.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
All right, what else do we have for today? Because
you shared this. A previous interview that we had was with James Rosen, and I encourage people to check it out. I released that as a separate interview, but he has some speculations about the Supreme Court, and I thought you might want to go into that.
Yeah, that's right, he did. Yeah. A lot of people say that, a couple of these people are going to go. He's predicting that the two that will go are Alito and Clarence Thomas soon. Retirement speculation. I don't know if he's backing that, but winds down, watchers awaiting the federal inside the most 1310 heavy. Similar swirls about Obama's appointee. So, he's also indicating Sotomayor, who has medical. That she might be leaning, and that might be a dark horse candidate because of diabetes type 1.
Well, and she's had some real issues, and apparently she's been complaining for a while how hard this is on her. So that's been talked about.
They will have to drag her corpse out of the building and pry her cold, dead Puerto Rican fingers off of the lectern if there's still a Republican president, in my humble opinion. She will literally have to die on stage.
True.
I don't think she's going to voluntarily give up power.
I mean, at least hold out until the midterm.
I'm hopeful, but I just don't see that happening. The others might want to spend some time with their grandchildren and get out, which is a common family thing. But when you're that far left and that far Marxist, like Sotomayor, you can't. She would just be attacked, unless she's dead, unless she dies.
She would be, but she does have the one excuse that technically people would claim that the right already has a 3-seat majority and her leaving wouldn't matter. In terms of the vote,
would be a 4-seat majority.
It's not, granted, but if she truly has the bad health and all that, she's not like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who threw, the court balance when she passed away. So
but
she
could
be like,
still a seat.
It is a seat, and it is important.
Still a seat, and she's still a leftist Democrat. So to give that up, I expect death.
Okay. Well, I encourage her to enjoy the rest of her life
Yeah.
in health. And it
In-
doesn't
in-
really
in
matter.
San
They've
Juan.
already got that. So go ahead. Go
In
on.
San Juan, Puerto Rico, in the rainforest, where they have El Yunque, the national frog of Puerto Rico.
Okay. Well, I think that's great.
By the way, they do have a lovely rainforest down in Puerto Rico, outside of San Juan, which I've been to many times. When you're a New Yorker growing up in the airline industry, you go to Puerto Rico on the weekends, which is what we did all the time as family.
Okay. Well, that's a place I have never been, but I'm sure it's beautiful.
And there are parts that are very beautiful.
So, anyway, moving back to Obama again.
Okay.
This one I think is very interesting. Barack Obama says his and Michelle's production company, Higher Ground, will go independent after the Netflix deal ends, which is code to me that nobody's offering you any money and you're in deep shit.
Yeah, it was a deal with a ticking clock. You know, it was a 5-year deal or whatever it was. It ran out. They did nothing. They spent the money. They made like 1 or 2 documentaries. Now the deal's run out. They will never do anything again unless somebody gives them a ton of money, or they're not going to run around and raise money. Simply because the Netflix deal was payola. It was from Nicole Avant, the black descendant of the co-owner of Motown Records. Her father, who was a accountant crook who ripped off black artists for years under the tutelage of Barry Gordy. And they were part of the power couple of Ted Sarandos and Nicole Avant, who bundled more money in donations for Obama than any couple in the United States, previous when he was running for both elections. So that's done. And now their deals run out, and they have to go find somebody else to pay for their schemes.
And what I'm seeing is that there probably is nobody who's going to be
right. I agree.
They don't care. Yeah, their relevance is
right.
thinning.
Right. Right. This was a payoff, like one of those book deals. This was a glorified book deal. I think he made 2 or 3 films.
But while we're on that, somebody else's network apparently has had some changes, and that's the Onion.
Yeah,
the Onion
is this real?
Apparently, it is. Apparently, it is real. It's a weird one though, because from what I've seen, and here, let me get the Onion guy talking about it.
Right.
Not that one. Sorry, I've got an X of him announcing it. I think you might appreciate the announcement.
Yeah, maybe I can get a job.
Ha. Maybe. You know what? No, with the sound issues, I'm not going to bother. But
okay.
Anyway, Alex is not taking it well. He's walking around with his shirt off, saying, "Just because you have my shirt doesn't mean you can wear my network." And anyway, he's having some problems with it. What it appears, though, is the Onion is paying $80,000 for the name and to license it. So they're kind of, it's like they're renting it for 6 months. So my thought is they're probably just going to trash everything and then just let the lease run out or move on. You know, like
what's it to the Onion though? I don't understand. What's their motivation?
They're relaunching it as a parody of itself.
Okay,
I guess so. I think it's a scalp. I just think it's a scalp. And $80,000 is a pretty cheap scalp if you really break it down.
I mean, for the record, I completely believe that Alex Jones was railroaded. Was a travesty of justice, and never should have happened. One of the great travesties of American justice was the railroading of Alex Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a strong settlement, but he doesn't exactly have help in the White House anymore, does he?
Apparently not. He's bitten the hand that kind of feeds him.
Yep, a little.
Speaking of hands that feed you, I want you to show this bear costume and its claws.
How did you know I pulled it up?
Because I know how you roll. I know how you roll, Nig.
Oh, okay. I literally just pulled up that headline and that
it makes
story.
sense. It makes sense. Look, I don't even know how to explain this, but I will just say Armenian criminals somehow in Lake Arrowhead trying to collect illegal insurance money had a Rolls-Royce car, got dressed in a bear suit, went into the car, and trashed it as if a bear had broken into the car, and then collected the insurance money on the damage of this Rolls-Royce and the interior, which was tens of thousands of dollars. If you scroll up a little bit, we could see what happened here in the first paragraph of the story. Three LA County residents were charged April 16th with insurance fraud involving a bear suit and a luxury vehicle. A fourth awaits trial. Department of Insurance, who always catches these guys because they've got a stake in this thing.
Yeah, insurance companies never. Oh yeah,
usually ex-cops. They're usually ex-cops
who are paid well.
Who are paid well and don't have to put up with people spitting in their face. These guys put on this costume, and it was covered here in the LA papers. The reason I sent it to Eric, because it's now gone national, this story on the Epic Times. But look at this outfit that they put on. Nobody's filming them, by the way. This is all created.
Hey, it's Hollywood, baby.
It's Hollywood. This is all created by the and if you saw their names, if you could scroll, let me see if you can find their names. I just like to point out where these guys came from. It was, first of all, it was a 2010 Rolls-Royce Ghost, January 28th, 2024. Also, the defendants has admitted security camera footage. Oh yeah, so they filmed themselves in the bear suits to make it more viable. They should have left that out.
Yeah.
2005 Mercedes, they did it to. They did it to others. Hold on. Althea Zuckerman of Valley Village is ordered to pay 55 grand in restitution. Ruben Tamarazian was ordered to pay 52. Vahi Morarakadanaranayam of Glendale was yet to has his restitution set. Ara Chikaranianiam of Glendale will have a preliminary hearing in court September. Just one of the great comic crimes of the LA region. I thought we'd have some levity from this.
By the way, can I point out something else too? Because I'm very offended. The devices down below that you see by the claws.
Yeah.
That's what you use for pulled pork.
Is that true?
Yes. If anybody's those are cooking. You take
That's what they
like
took
a pork
from
shoulder or Boston butt, and you take those and you go like that.
Wow, I was
That's
wondering
what that is.
Was. Wow.
So
they couldn't use the real nails on the costume. That wasn't good enough because they wanted to slash and slash, you know.
Right. So they used a pulled pork, and I forgot the name of those claws, but I have a pair for pulled pork at the house.
Wow.
Not like that. Those are the nice ones.
Wow. Did not know that.
So
great story, nevertheless. They will be serving time in some sort of bear prison.
And hopefully it's BA.
Can I just do one sports story for the political record out of New York?
Sure, and I can do a nice board reaction like you did with the apple.
Right. So you do whatever you want, but I just want, this has political overtones for us because the shortstop for the New York Mets is apparently a socialist named Francisco Lindor, and he told the Mets to trade this guy Nimmo, who is a Trump supporter, and he was traded to Texas. There's Nimmo on the left, who is now tearing it up in the American League on Texas. And the Mets are 0-10 since they traded Nimmo to Texas. And the Met fans are going batshit crazy, turning in their season tickets because this mutt on the right said he couldn't play on the same team with a Trump supporter. So the owner, a self-hating Jew named Steve Cohen, who simultaneously canceled Jewish Heritage Night at Shea Stadium not Citi Field, not Shea Stadium where I used to go. Canceled Jewish Heritage Night despite being a self-hating Jew, not only has offended every Jewish ticket owner in New York and forced them to now switch allegiances to the Yankees, something that is unthinkable in terms of baseball sports in New York. Now they've traded their best hitter because this mutt on the right, this socialist immigrant, said, I can't play with this great Trump supporter named Nimmo on the left. Wow. In the photo, not politically.
And where did Nimmo go ultimately?
To the Texas Rangers, where he's killing it. Going crazy on Texas with the great Corey Seager and doing very well on that team.
Well, I think that
It had some political connection.
worked out. I think it worked out perfectly then.
Yeah, the Met fans want to kill themselves. I mean, they're 0-10. Eric, I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, I hope they are, and of course the player who demanded it. Why is he still there? What
well, he's the superstar that they paid a fortune for, who never materialized as the superstar that they were paying him to be. So he's embittered that he has a contract so enormous and he has underplayed his contract. And that's Francisco Lindor, who came from Cleveland.
Right. Well, okay, good.
Just a little. I just want to give an update on that. I'm such joy to report on such a great story.
It's such a stupid story.
That's
so mind blowing to me that in the sports or whatever, like, same way, if I don't know, like if people like movies, you're probably going to assume that politically you might not like the person, but if they do a good job acting and whatever, then you just watch the movie and you go, oh, I don't like, I'll listen to them on the side. Well,
absolutely,
with baseball or football or whatever, just shut up.
Right. Well, this guy couldn't shut up. He wanted this guy off the field. I mean, there was a guy named Carl Furillo on the Dodgers on right field, and he went when the Dodgers when they brought up Jackie Robinson from Montreal, where he was in the minors, and they brought him to the Dodgers. He went to the team and he said, was it Carl Furillo? The right fielder for the Dodgers went to them and said, I can't play for the Dodgers. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I said Pete Reiser or Carl Furillo, but I forget. And he said he was a Southern boy, and he said, I can't play on the team with a Negro. And they traded him. They said, okay, take a walk. And they brought up one of the great players of all time, black or white, in Jackie Robinson, who became the face of the franchise. But this guy in right field went to management right away and said, I can't play on this team anymore. And they said, okay.
Wow. Oh, I don't know if you had time to look into this. I shared it with you before. Shit, where'd it go? Anyway, it's the latest update on Jordan Peterson.
Oh boy.
From Michaela. And by the way, Berenson is like, going after it big time, but whatever. This is her tweet. It's a 35-minute video, so obviously I'm not going to play it.
Right.
She just wrote in the tweet, we figured out that dad has a psych med-induced neurological injury and has been suffering from akathisia, akathisia.
Akathisia, yeah.
Okay, it's been 6 years since any psych medications. Last summer, his symptoms started after a flare-up likely induced by mold, CIRS, and stress.
I just want to inject one word as you go back to it, saying Dixie Walker. Go on. Sorry. That was the name of the right fielder. Just set the record straight. Sorry. I just remembered.
I thought it was a condition or a code.
Anesthesia in my head. I had mental cognitive disorder. The guy's name was Dixie Walker. But go on. I'm sorry.
Okay. Last summer, symptoms started after a flare-up likely induced by mold, CIRS, and stress. It was complicated by pneumonia and associated sepsis a month later. It's been horrible. Neurological injuries from psych meds are far more common than people know. I made this video to explain what they are and what akathisia is because they're not talked about enough. They're misdiagnosed, nearly impossible to treat, and hidden by the pharmaceutical industry.
Right. This is separate issues. As Berenson pointed out, she's conflating his addiction to benzodiazepine with this other issue. And then everyone goes, of course, the big med is trying to get us on SSRIs. Separate issue. She's conflating the two. This is now her fifth attempt. I'm saying fifth. It's multi attempts to explain her father's condition. She just keeps moving the goalposts every few months about his condition. And as Alex Berenson correctly pointed out, I don't know how Berenson got on this case, but God bless him.
Like he's been battling it out with a
very good.
Anyway,
and I'm a huge fan of Jordan Peterson. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I don't know what is happening to Jordan Peterson now, but I do know that his daughter is waving off his earlier benzo dependency as unlike a street drug addiction, lumping SSRIs in with benzos as psych meds, which is correct. The second point in particular is dangerous and misleading. The first is more self-serving. And there's more to it than that, but that'll give you the hint of where Berenson's going. And I agree with him.
Well, that was just one of his. He went. Yeah, there's multiple things out there on that. So anyway,
this guy has a benzo addiction that he's never kicked. It is really difficult to get off of benzos. You have to be hospitalized to do it because of the massive detox from benzos is so difficult, so physically difficult, that you have to go through this major medical catharsis to get off it and be institutionalized. He has attempted numerous times to do this and has aborted it or gone back to the benzos. All of this other stuff, you know, people are going to say, yes, antidepressants. Yeah. Again, she is covering the true story. And Berenson, for some reason, is on this case.
Well, he's also in the cannabis case. That's sort of his beat. You and he aren't that far apart.
No, I agree. But he came from writing for the New York Times, I believe, to do this originally, right?
He was a writer in New York. He's also a novelist.
Right, but he was a science reporter originally, Eric, for the Times.
He could be. His wife is an emergency room physician.
Right.
And that could be a factor.
Right.
But he is a New York Times bestseller of like a spy series, which I've read.
But I'm saying as a reporter. As a reporter for the New York Times, I think he was a health reporter.
Could have been.
Yeah.
I don't know his. I don't know his beat, but yeah. Anyway, let me see. We've got a bunch of super chats in. I definitely want to get through here and cover. Anthony Madison wants to point out that it's all Trump's fault, coming from Australia, of course, and Pamela from Texas. Happy Tuesday, guys. Don't worry about Tucker, etc. I voted for President Trump. There you go. And then Sonny is very upset with Anthony from Australia.
What?
Saying the jack off with the it's all Trump's fault is getting redundant. Holy shit. It's a joke.
Just to remind the people, worked for the New York Times for 11 years covering the pharmaceutical industry, Alex Berenson, as the lead reporter for the New York Times.
Oh, that's even more
on that beat.
Science.
Yeah, on that beat. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Go on.
Okay. Anyway, Sonny doesn't like Anthony from Australia, so yeah, I think it's just joking, Sonny. It's all right. Orc Cloud, bat caves and rabbit holes are both deep subjects.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It can be. There's actually a cool video that I've shared a few times that for whatever reason, somebody took a video of bats, were hanging from a ceiling or whatever, and they flipped it upside down and they put goth music, and they really do they look like it's a goth nightclub when they're dancing around. It's just,
I'm surprised they haven't put them in nightclubs, to decorate with actual bats.
That'd be interesting. It might be a health issue. Wellesley 72. When you open the door to everyone to get Trump elected, it opens the door to crap. Yeah. This is the weeding out the crap. Tucker, MTG, Candace, Brett, Dave.
Right. The problem is he only won despite his claims of winning by a landslide, he only won by 2 million votes over the worst candidate in American history. He's not running again, and the loss of the 2 million votes could easily happen with this schism, even without the schism, with the MAGA Reich not voting Republican. I believe that the next candidate, whether it's Rubio or Vance or whoever it is not going to get the same amount of votes as Trump. That's a given. And
it'll be a struggle. I mean,
it'll be a brutal struggle, brutal. And these guys have decided to make it worse. And they don't give a shit. They're willing to take us all down with them. That's why they have to be roughed up politically. They have to be roughed up socially. They have to be roughed up on social media platforms and politically, because they are going to take this Republican Party and put it into the trash can and allow the Democrats who are laughing about this schism to come back to power. And they don't care, because they're going to say, we told you so. If you would have listened to us, You would have beaten the Democrats. You would have separated from Israel. You never would have gone into Iran. You wouldn't have done the following 10 things from our 10-point Black Panther program. And now you've lost, and they will be the ones that caused the loss intentionally, Eric. And they will celebrate that as we told you so.
I think it's worse than that.
Yeah.
And where I'm going to go, this is just my speculation, but honestly, even we've seen it. It is easier to rail from the outside against something than it is to be on the inside. So I think they want the next person to lose.
Well, I'll tell you
think that
else.
they will profit more if they can be on the outside saying, it's the worst. Oh, it's this. Oh, you got to help us with this fight. You got to raise the money, because anger helps raise more money.
To build on your theory, I believe they're railing now as if they are outsiders against the establishment. Yes. They are now acting as if they are on the outside of the establishment, railing against it. Again, I've never seen anything quite like it. It's such a fragile coalition that they are quite willing to blow to smithereens to allow the Democrats to get back in power so they can then rail against them.
But
I'm saying they're
really
only
about
doing
politics.
it now.
It's not about the politics in the country, dude. It's about the grift and the money. And that's
but I'm saying we have to live with this administration for 3 more years of them doing what they're doing, not the administration, what this internal opposition is doing. We now have to live with it for the next 3 years until they are deposed and removed from office because of what these guys are going to be doing for the next 3 years. And then they'll do it again, like you said, but they're going to keep doing it now until the administration is defeated. And until the Republican candidate is defeated, then they'll clean and wash and do it again with a Democratic administration. But by then it'll be too late. They're going to go lock these people up. They're living in a fantasy world. Tucker's not going to be allowed to freely do this under a new Democratic regime. He's dreaming. That's where he bails out to Cutter. You're absolutely right, Eric.
So he's got it. And if he's working with them, which, by the way, it appears he's been a registered Democrat through at least 2020. So,
well, how about Buckley? Up until 20 minutes ago was a registered Democrat.
Literally. And not only that, who was Tucker's best friend? They were writing love letters to each other. Hunter Biden.
Let me ask you something.
I don't know if you remember that stuff, but
I did remember that. But when they vetted Buckley to come in, Buckley Carlson to come in as the deputy press secretary for J.D. Vance, when they vetted him and saw that he was a registered Democrat, why did they allow him to take that job? Please, somebody fucking answer me that question, because you had to see that he was a registered Democrat. Did you just say, fuck it, we don't care? I mean, please explain it so it doesn't happen again. Please.
Well, they'll just say Bobby Kennedy, Tulsi Gabbard. So they'll throw those out there and just say, all right. Well, look, I'm so magnanimous and great that I'm converting Democrats, and we're a big tent party. And when you're a big tent, you do let in a little riffraff as a
super sensitive positions like press secretary. I understand. Yeah, for the vice president, because that makes sense.
Yeah. And also, JD Vance, Tucker Carlson are besties. Our moderator's pointing out.
Well, JD Vance now, I mean, I don't know where this goes because he's going back to Islamabad. Good luck doing that.
Well, if he ever can get out there, because I think that I think they've stalled that now.
Right.
And he may or may not be going. Let me see. Wellesley 72 said for the autistics.
That's funny.
1
I like when they get that it's humorous. It's funny when they turn on us or turn on me for doing it, but it's the equivalent of saying retard when we were growing up in the streets in Brooklyn. They've just changed the word, but the sentiment hasn't changed.
True.
You don't understand, Mark. My grandson is autistic.
Well, there's that, or the F word that you can't say. A bundle of sticks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that one. Yeah.
Well, come on. How many times did you hear that growing up?
Every day.
Exactly. I mean, every male called each other. Hey, F word, get over here. Hey, F word.
Some guy on Twitter told me, he said, I love the show. Please stop using the F word on the show any longer. And I just said, I said, telling me how to speak is not really helpful. And then I blocked the guy.
Yeah.
You know, when they begin to tell, like, we have it bad enough with YouTube, let alone the actual people watching it, telling you what words you can say and what you can't say. It just strangles me mentally. It really does. It's such a trigger warning to me to have somebody tell me how to speak. And they still don't get it. They still don't get it.
Well, and if, in fairness, like, I don't go out of my way to swear, but
no,
it's a matter of when we're in a moment, like somebody pointed out earlier, that I said Tim Pool twice instead of Tim Cook while I was talking.
Right.
And so we can get mixed up, but then swearing is the same thing. It's like, we're just talking, and Mark and I aren't talking that differently than when we're on the phone talking about the show. The language isn't that far different.
It's the same conversation. That's what the show is about. Like Seinfeld was about nothing. This show is about two guys talking on bar stools. I know this sounds incredibly complicated, but that is the subject and structure of the show when we started it, and it still is. Whether you like it or not is up to you. Nobody's making you stay here. For the love of God, if you find this offensive, stop watching it. We don't want to inflict mental injury on you.
Agreed. You know, somebody who's not against it and has been a member for 25 months now is Tractor Guy, Diffuse 56. Happy Tuesday, all. Spring planting season is here. Thank you. And not only has he been a member forever, he's donated a ton of memberships too.
I'm going to tell you about this thing I found out about the VBSS. The VBSS is something called the Visit Board Search and Seizure Squads among the U.S. Marines that go and this is the heroic units. I just want to give a shout out to them, who are seizing these Iranian vessels in mid-sea and any other vessels that violate the blockade. This group is a subgroup. I don't know if it's the 31st. I forget the name of the Marine division that has this. It's the VBSS, and they're trained to do what they're doing right now. And they're really super professional. They're on board a destroyer, and then they go and take the tanker or Iranian or foreign vessel that is trying or attempting to run a blockade. I never heard of it before. I just wanted to give a shout out to them.
All right, by the way, did you see that from Chris Murphy, the senator out of Connecticut or whatever?
No.
Apparently, well, there was a story, and it's been disputed that I guess multiple Iranian ships had run the blockade or had gotten out or something. Sure. And as a U.S. senator, he responded on X by saying, "Awesome." U.S. senator
again, you have to go after them.
The enemy with awesome. You can't make this.
By the way, they have rolled our lasers into drone warfare, which is beautiful. Good. Also, I mean, this thing is so beautiful, and I'll tell you why. It is such a lopsided military operation in terms of us versus them. The American left and the MAGA Reich are acting as if we're fighting the Soviet Union at the peak of their military prowess, and that this is a real battle to the death. I mean, the people who are freaking out on the MAGA, not even the MAGA Reich, the MAGA movement, who are so worried about the outcome of this situation, it's just startling to me. I mean, the amount of destruction we've done in the span of 2 months to this nation's infrastructure, military, we've changed their regime. How did we change their regime, Mark? Well, we killed them all. Now other people have to come in. I think that's called regime change in my definition. When you cut off the head of the top of a regime and other people must replace them, that's a type of regime change. Well, I thought it would go smoother than that. I didn't know you had to kill them, Mark. But okay, you've decapitated you've destroyed their Navy. They have no Air Force. They have missiles that are on the back of trucks that are being targeted every time they launch them. Every single aspect of this operational defense on the part of the Iranians have been decimated. And now we are literally in the final stages of this mini conflict where we've used the chess piece of an old-fashioned United States naval blockade to strangle them to fucking financial death. And yet the left and the MAGA Reich movement are yelling bloody murder as if we're at the end, we're in the middle of a war with the Soviet Union. It's breathtaking.
I have, and I do want to put this out there. I do have one, and it's a sincere question. And this is for all the people who are, still watching. A lot of them are watching, and you're welcome. I mean, go ahead and watch. Those of you who are so against Trump and everything else, and you're making the statements, I genuinely want to know, are you wishing for Iran to win?
Good
no,
question.
I really want you to answer that. Do you want Iran to prevail in this encounter? And please comment below. I really want to hear from you and reach down deep in your heart. And do you want Iran?
I think they're going to say that Trump deserves a lesson, and this lesson will teach him never to do it again. I think they're going to say that in various linguistic styles, that he deserves a lesson. We told him not to do it. He did it because he didn't listen to me personally, whoever that guy is. And he did this, and now he deserves to be in some sort of a spanking mode and a quagmire.
Oh, yeah. Well, they could put it all anyway. Yeah, but I want you to genuinely just answer the question honestly and truthfully. Do you want Iran to win? That's the question. Not if Trump is an asshole, not if he's belligerent, not if he says bad words. My question is that, again, do you want Iran to win?
Because that's what you're talking about. That is the essence of what Eric is saying. I mean, we have to bomb them into such a state where they physically go down into their rat holes and come up with the uranium and load it onto a UPS truck on the coast of where they live. Because I don't think he's going to stop hitting them with armaments until they completely collapse. And I think these gaps in the peace ceasefire are more than generous by Trump. He's given them enough time to get their ducks in a row, find a general who can run this fucking operation over there, somebody who can sign a document and get their shit together. But he's more than willing, to go back, I think tomorrow night, right, Eric? Or tonight, when the ceasefire runs out and begin military operations again. I mean, he's in this thing and everybody's screaming and squealing in this situation is breathtaking. In other words, you're saying, I want the Iranians to have nuclear weapons. That way, it'll teach everybody a lesson. I don't want us to invest 1 cent of American money to stop the Iranians from having nuclear weapons, because that's a logical political position. To say that this rogue state can have nuclear weapons, look at North Korea, Mark. They have nuclear weapons.
Look, we're not at a war with them.
Hey, we're not at a war with them. Hey, how much oil?
What about Pakistan, where we're doing the negotiation? They've got nukes.
How much oil is sitting up in North Korea? By the way, the fact of the matter is nobody had the balls to do this. They sent them so many pallets of money, as Mark Halperin keeps talking about under the Obama administration. How many hundreds of billions of dollars did they load into C-134 transport planes on pallets? Apparently, according to Trump, even in his Truth Social post last week, they literally drained every bank in the Washington, D.C. area to remove physical cash to put on pallets to take the planes to fly to Tehran. Is that what you want? Is that the upside? We should just pay them $800 trillion to make sure that they spend it on housing and clothing, because they're an honest regime. They'll buy food for their people. They killed 43,000 of them, machine gunned them, and hung them last week alone. This is a cross between the Third Reich and Hirohito's fascist theocratic Japan. That's what they are. Well, I don't want to be bothered, Mark, because I'm playing golf.
Okay, and my next question, on the same notice, if, as Mark said, do you want Iran to have a nuclear weapon? And if you're good with Iran having a nuclear weapon, my next question is this. How about Saudi Arabia? You okay with them?
Yeah.
How about Oman? How about Qatar?
Yeah.
How about Kuwait? And I genuinely want to know, because that's how this works. As soon as Iran has a nuclear weapon, Saudi Arabia has already put it out there. Hell no, we will have a nuke. The second they get a nuke, everybody gets a nuke. It's going to be Oprah Winfrey for nukes. You get a nuke, you get a nuke, you get a nuke, everybody gets a nuke. So if you're okay with that, please let us know.
what point does your country do anything as the world's only superpower? I know you want your roads paved in West Virginia. I get that. But maybe a separate issue is that we have a responsibility on the world stage. Otherwise, we're going to be overrun by communist China. If we don't do these things, communist China is moving into the political vacuum that we've left, and they will make sure that Iran has nuclear weapons, just like they gave them to fucking North Korea.
I agree. We got coming in hot here. Beavis Wallace came in a $200 super chats. Definitely need to get in this. And this is a few minutes old now, but he said, I just arrived and Mark, once again, is explaining the format of the show. This is the best show on YouTube. Thank you, Beavis. And
I was explaining the origin of the format because people don't understand. They think we're like a regular show. This is not the Duran. Let me put it that way. You know, anybody who watches some foreign YouTube show for information on American politics has to take it with a grain of salt. Leave it at that.
Fair enough. And also from Beavis, Mark and Eric are so correct on Trump's plan. Trump has set up Iran so perfectly. All we have to do is wait, just like Japan in World War II. And that is a point that has been brought up to me. I'm not an expert on equipment and things like that, but from what I understand, the longer the equipment and everything is stymied, they get a backlog. And if you shut it down, it causes permanent damage.
Their oil production system. Go on.
That's correct. It will cause permanent damage to the oil production system, and they're really in trouble.
Which is why they're trying to run the blockade and do stuff right now. It's strangling an animal to death. That's what this blockade is doing. That's why they're running miniature fucking gunboats out there trying to attack anything that moves. The idea that I think they have 180 of what's called fast attack craft. The Iranian Navy, what's left of it, of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. They have 180 of these speedboats. The idea that 180 of these speedboats in cluster formations is going to take out the U.S. Navy is absurd. It's absurd. But Mark, they fired on us. You don't understand. Somebody fired on an Iranian tanker. Mark, it's out of control. Somebody launched a missile. Give me a fucking break. This United States military is designed to fight China. It's designed to fight the former Soviet Union. This is a country that
at the same time,
you are severely underestimating the power of the United States military, my friends. Your position and view of it is so juvenile as to be laughable. Their strength has never been matched in the history of the world. Trump sounds like he's bloviating. He's not. He's not on this issue. He's not bloviating.
Our military budget is the equivalent of the next 10 countries combined.
Now you look at that as waste. It's not waste. We literally have a military that we never use. Trump is using it for political purposes to get rid of this rogue nation. Whether you like it or not, that's the president's policy. He only said it for 20 years. Like there wasn't any foreshadowing to this. Well, he surprised me, Mark. He's opposed to an Iranian nuclear weapon. That took me by surprise. I didn't see that coming.
All right. K-Dog 4703. Many NATO countries are realizing after relaxing while drinking down the nectar from the U.S. defense budget for decades that they have serious deficiencies in their military system.
Absolutely, K-Dog. Great point. Great point. And now they're squirming like worms because they got to pay for their own military. And let me ask you something. Where is that loyalty going to come from? What country is going to be willing to die for the EU? Tell me what country is going to, what nation state is going to die in military battle for the European Union? Give me a break.
That's true. That's true.
They will be French Foreign Legion soldiers.
True. David Weilhauer, it appears like, or Weilhauer. Mark, in your opinion, is there anything for Subutex or Suboxone minus the Nexoline? Been on it 4 years. Don't have a month to detox. Appreciate you both.
Okay, let me answer 5 different questions that Dave has put together here. Suboxone is extremely effective. You're abusing it. You've been using it. It's supposed to be for a week. You're supposed to detox from your opiate of choice in a week. You're refusing to do that. And now you're on an opiate subblocker called Suboxone for 4 months, 4 years. Let me take that back. For 4 years. This is going to affect every part of your body, your digestive system, your addiction system, your thinking, every single thing. That drug that you're on was designed and then abused by drug addicts who stay on it for years to avoid relapsing on heroin. It's designed for a week or 10 days, Eric. So you step down on it, the amount you take every single day until you're clean. Now you have to do something about your addiction. He's been on it for 4 years because he claims he doesn't have a month to detox. He's very busy. Okay. He's willing to stay on this opiate blocker for 4 years. That's your life, bro. That's your life.
So is that it? He needs to take a month and detox.
It's not a month. The drug is designed. The drug is designed. It may take a while longer because he's been on it for 4 years. So he has to 3 milligrams, down to 2 5/8. You slice it up in the gel. You incrementally decrease to 0, and then you make that leap at the end. But he's been on it for 4 years, so it may take a month to be talking, completely logically to him.
Okay.
But it's not what it's designed for. It's not designed for a lifetime use. Like ibogaine, which is not designed for anything. It's just a thing in the jungle. It's designed to get you off of the substance of opiate of your choice and make the kick easier, the detox easier, which is what Suboxone is for. What Dr. Drew refused to do was get a Suboxone license. If you get a Suboxone license as a doctor, every heroin addict in the city is going to show up at your door demanding a prescription for Suboxone. And what everyone in the city immediately did, among the rockers and the artists and everything, is they'll use heroin, go on Suboxone, use heroin, go on Suboxone. It never ends.
Oh.
It's right. It became a revolving door.
Well, in fairness, Dave, good luck.
Yeah, no,
I hope you can.
He completely gets it. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's stuck on this stuff where he can, but he's refused because he says he doesn't have a month to detox. Well, good luck. You had a month to take heroin, didn't you?
That's true. But I hope you're able to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Big Bill 767. Mark, funny story about your non-rev free airline weekend trips to Puerto Rico. A Dallas-based pilot takes his wife out to dinner and a movie. It was a non-stop flight to LAX. Back in the 80s, the food and drinks were great.
He's right. Thank you, Big Bill. We would fly, because my father worked for the Kennedy Airport. He worked for a bunch of different airlines. We would fly on the weekend and just had to pay the tax, a couple of dollars, and we'd go to San Juan as a family and stay for the weekend and come back all the time. Other places, mostly Miami and San Juan, though.
All right. Diffuse Tractor Guy did give 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. See, I told you, he gives a ton of memberships now.
And those are randomly given out?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and I've actually gotten memberships. I get emails that I got a membership to a channel. So there may be people who are subscribers to the channel who get a membership who weren't even watching this. It's
weird.
Really bonkers. I think it's wrong. I think that the person gifting the membership should be able to choose at least 2 or have the option to say, okay, just randomize the rest or whatever. But unfortunately, we play with YouTube rules, and that's what they do. Rumble rant before I get back to the rest of the super chats. King of Biltong, premium Biltong from Biltong USA, high protein, keto friendly, no additives, US source beef, authentic South African flavor. Get some now at biltongusa.com.
Right on.
Use code AUS for 10% off.
Right on.
And Al Gonzalez
back on the board. Big Al is back.
Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting one. He's saying hearing the lawsuit against Stern could have fireworks if it goes to discovery phase. Sources in New York say he will settle to avoid public disclosure of embarrassing
I don't know what lawsuit this is.
I'm not familiar. We'll have to look into that
it.
because this sounds juicy.
That's
I mean, Howard Stern's got enough of a past that I would not be surprised that there could be embarrassing things in there.
Yeah,
sure.
I just wanted to explain. I'm sorry. Go on. You go on.
Kathy, your realtor in Jersey, Newsapalooza is news on bar stools. Great show. I
That's
might
great.
borrow that actually.
That's a great phrase. That's a
I
great
like that.
phrase. I
But-
wanted to explain from last week. Thank you so much, Kathy. I'm sorry that you have
Yeah.
to live in Jersey, but you still have the New York Giants and the New York Jets, despite being called New York teams, actually operate out of New Jersey. So those people will need real estate, which will give you a beneficial financial leg up. When we talked about what's his face, Vance going to Islamabad and going back, I just wanted to explain how this worked because I was a little confused. So I looked it up. They landed 2 U.S. Globemaster heavy airlift planes, which are the largest military planes that we have. They landed 2 of them at the airport. They shut down the roads from the airport to the Marriott. They emptied the Marriott out of all human flesh other than us. So the roads had been blocked off from the airport to the Marriott to allow us to both land, travel, and get to a place to live, cleared out by U.S. intelligence, U.S. military. So
Well,
I just wanted to
consider
point
the
out
security implications of what's going on here. And
Yes,
and you
I
too.
know,
I mean,
I know,
good
I know.
God. This is a place that has rocket launchers and shit. So first off,
Right.
you've got to have a seriously armed escort and everything else. So yeah, I think they probably could do even more to lock
Well,
it down.
there is more, but I'm saying I didn't understand the actual physics. And now that he's going back again, I assume they're going to use the same physical operation to secure that hotel. There's 2 of them. One's a Marriott. I forget the name of the other one, but they're securing 2 hotels with nobody in them, of kicking everyone out and then taking them.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they could meet on an aircraft carrier. And
Dude, I
would
don't
be
even know why you have
perfectly
to go
fine with
there.
that, you
Why
know?
do we have to go to this fucking place? Tell these mutts where to go. Meet them in Puerto Rico for all I care.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Why do we have to go? It's like going to Moscow in the middle of the Cold War to make some peace talks.
I agree. Stacey Michaels gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships.
She's a great chick.
She's been great on the board.
She used to work with Jim Jones's son in a hospital.
And that wasn't Mark bullshitting me.
No,
So
she
that was
worked
it.
as a nurse with Jim Jones's son after the stuff went down that was bad for Jim Jones and his followers.
Oh, somebody's filling me in on Rumble here about the Howard Stern thing. So okay. His former personal assistant. Ooh. Google says in April 2026, Howard and Beth Stern were sued by former personal assistant Leslie Kuhn, alleging a hostile work environment, questionable business practices, and fraudulent non-disclosure. Okay, well, a personal assistant.
Anybody could have done that. They could have done that back 20 years ago.
Well, yeah, I can imagine.
Jackie could have done that for hostile work environment. Jackie, you listening to the show? You should get on board as an amicus friend of the court on that one, Jackie.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure that his personal assistant already has the numbers of every person who could be of, I mean, hell, Artie Lang could be going in there for all we know.
Absolutely. But he could be discredited easier than Jackie.
Sure.
I'm saying Jackie may end up being the linchpin to this lawsuit.
No, he'll probably settle. I'm sure he's got.
He'll
drop a couple million and call it a day.
And surprised it got this far, which means he wasn't going to settle, and now she's gone to the media.
Yeah, which is even worse.
Yeah.
New Jersey, Kathy, the quality of life the Democrats are afforded is because of the strength of the U.S. military.
Absolutely.
If he made those comments in any other country, he would have disappeared.
Absolutely. Absolutely. These people have no idea, the level of protection they have in this country because of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. They just assume it's all over the world. It's breathtaking. They've never traveled. They don't know how other countries work. Look at the UK, people. Look at our so-called closest fucking ally, the UK, which is a goddamn jackboot Nazi stronghold at this point. And these people are trying to get free. And we're going, hey, Israel's our worst enemy, a democracy in the Middle East. The UK is supposedly our closest ally, and they're running a fascist, non-free speech zone there.
Yeah, while we're talking about that with Israel, because, okay, I have spent very little thought about Israel, just in general in my life, okay? But there are certain things that stand out to me, and I just try to think about, how somebody lives, how I live, and just compare them. Now,
me too.
Everywhere that I have grown up, I've seen things called storm shelters on occasion. I lived in Kansas, and they have tornadoes, and they have basements or cellars for storms. Well, Israel, they have something called bomb shelters in every damned apartment building, and if not in the building itself, on the corner for every citizen of the country. Now, think about that for a second. Just let's step back and just go, how normal of an existence is it that you're in a place where at any time of the day, boom, the alarms go off, time to go to the storm shelter? That's a little odd. That's a little odd for anybody.
No kidding.
Under
That's
that
why
kind of environment. And I'm a simple guy.
The Iron Dome was so helpful because of, it diminished that quite a bit to go to the bomb shelters. I'll give you an example. In Tel Aviv, there's a noontime AA meeting that many of my friends have gone to that's in a bomb shelter.
There you go.
I'm just telling you.
I'm genuinely trying to put it out there. It's kind of like when I was
imagine
in
if the
Cuba.
UK had bomb shelters and they were being targeted and shelled and missile attacked from France across the channel for 27.
This isn't 1942 either. This is now.
For 27 years, France has been launching rockets into the middle of London, and the British have had to go down into the tube like they did in World War II for V2 rockets. But it's 2026. And you're supposed to accept it because you're dirty, filthy Jews.
Yeah,
I mean, it's insane. It's totally insane. And people have said we've had enough.
No, I agree. And I watch our comments. Everybody, I encourage you, go read them, and you'll start to see it. Be like, oh, you're nothing more than Israel loving this. It's like
the Truth Social statement by Trump the other day was fantastic.
So anyway, like I said, I'm a simple person. I'm not the deepest guy on the planet, but wow. Here we go again. 7777. What is your opinion on Trump extending the ceasefire indefinitely? I have a feeling there's going to have to be a bit of the verify and the trust thing. So you probably need to make sure that there's a tether that it could go back any time to being hot. Otherwise, I mean, there's a long history here. It's not like this happened 47 years just with the current environment. They're not known for accepting things,
honoring treaties or
really anything. And
it's April 19th. I don't know what today is, the 21st.
Yes,
Trump called Israel a great ally that has proven its strength and loyalty, praised the nation as courageous, bold, loyal, and smart, contrasting Israel's resolve with others who he claimed showed true colors under pressure. If your problem is with Israel, your problem is with Donald Trump. And if that's your problem, take it up with the president you voted for. Again, he has not deviated or changed his political opinion. It's the same guy. You have a problem with the guy you voted for. I know this sounds incredibly harsh, but your problem is not with the state of Israel. It's with Donald J. Trump, the man you voted for, who supports this country. Take it up with him. That's who you voted for. He didn't trick you. He didn't lie to you. He told you where he stood for 15 to 20 years. And now you're all up in arms because he's doing what he said he was going to do. It's idiocracy. Watch the movie Idiocracy and you'll understand your positions a lot better.
All right. Oh, hey, Dave followed up, and I think you'll like this
all right,
response,
Dave.
and that's cool. Thanks for answering, Mark. Never on heroin, shattered femur, back surgery, couldn't get script filled due to Florida pill mills, down to 1.5 mil a day. So it sounds like he is weaning himself off, maybe.
Well, this is a little confusing. So he was addicted to pain medication, couldn't get the script filled. So normally when you're on pain medication, when you're addicted and don't get off, you've got to go to the street to get drugs. So I'm just reading into this. Due to Florida pill mills is not really relevant because he's saying he couldn't get the script filled anymore. That means you're addicted to the drug. When the doctor cuts you off, he's cutting you off because he feels the next step would lead to addiction. I don't know what you're down to, 1.5 mil a day. I'd have to know exactly what you're talking about, which I can't. from this, so I can't really comment intelligently on that. But the cause of your addiction, nobody's justifying why you got on the pain medication. It's about getting off the pain medication. I mean, your reasons for doing it, I'm sure, were righteous. Everybody thinks that because I did something for righteous reasons in the pain addiction field, I don't deserve to be an addict. Well, good luck with that. Right. I'm sure the disease cares quite a bit how you got there, but until you properly deal with this scientifically and through addiction 12-step programs, usually it's not going to go away on its own.
All right, here we go again. 7777. I was shocked today to see him extending it today.
Why?
He's not in a hurry to destroy the country,
right.
Even though everybody claims he is, or not everybody, but many people claim. It's like he's obviously trying to drag them kicking and screaming.
Right,
to say,
like
all you have to do is act like adults. It's kind of a scary thing.
We didn't have this much problem with Gaddafi.
No.
Okay.
It had to work for him, sadly.
Right.
Anyway, okay. And then this last super chat here from Kimmy Hunt. I'm glad you brought this up. And maybe it is moving further. Breaking DOJ indicts Southern Poverty Law Center for secretly laundering money to KKK, Aryan Nation, and funding Charlottesville, etc.
Wow, that's great.
And
that's insane.
Just to let you know, I've been talking with Ken Silva of Headline USA on covering this. This ties into my Oklahoma City coverage. SPLC had undercover people in Elohim City tied with Oklahoma City type of stuff. So I will be doing an interview with Ken in the next couple weeks. Might be a live stream talking about Morris Dees, the SPLC.
Is he still alive, Morris Dees?
He is, but he got fired from SPLC
right.
quit. He got run out of there. But there's some really dark stuff. Is he what? He's Me Too'd, I think.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
But sometimes I think that the Me Too is just a way to get rid of somebody like Cuomo.
No, absolutely.
Cuomo got Me Too'd, right?
Yeah, a lot of people. Charlie Rose on PBS and
Garrison Keillor.
Harrison Keillor on PBS and the black dude on PBS. Tavis Smiley. He fought it tooth and nail. Said, "I'm allowed to have sex with my employees. How dare you?"
I credit
he
him
fought it.
Didn't Mark Halperin get a little?
Mark Halperin got Me Too. Oh yes.
All right. Well, we're going to carry this Me Too discussion and everything else over to locals. And
Jesus. Oh my.
I hope you guys consider following us.
Let me just tell you something. I just thought of something. What's tomorrow? Wednesday?
All day.
Okay, I got to do this massive deep dive on Jerry Seinfeld tomorrow, Wednesday, which is going to be shocking to a lot of people who think they know who Jerry Seinfeld is. You're dead. You're totally dead. And I mean that in a good way.
Is this like including his dating life while you're talking about Me Too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, this is beyond the dating life. There's more to this.
I'm sure there is, but I just will say that there is some. He does have an interesting taste.
I had no idea. 3:00 tomorrow Pacific time on What's Up with Lord Buckley. I just remembered I have to do this tomorrow. It's going to be fun.
All right. Well, there you go. Tomorrow with that. And if we don't see you there, I'll be doing something with Ken Silva pretty soon, but then we'll be back Friday. And but we're still here on locals.
Ceasefire.
Going over to locals.
We're going to locals right now.
Get
over there.
Get over there. What do you do?